We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, guys, today we have an awesome guest, an awesome topic. We're going to talk about building the future of marketing with one of Forbes 30 under 30. Say what?
Mind blown. Guys, before we get started, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button so that way you know where the episodes drop every single week in your phone. And also, don't forget to follow us on social media at BeastBrosCos. We're happy to answer any questions that come through those DMs.
That is right, guys. And if you found this episode impactful, which I am sure you will, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review.
All right. It all started with a content conversation. You have heard us talk about it before. Create content conversations. Ding! That was the sound of our LinkedIn DMs when today's guest reached out. We're not only surprised by her outreach strategy, but by her accomplishments as well. And we are sure we're going to love what she has in store for us and what she's building.
That's right, guys. We are certain you're going to love it as well. We've talked a lot about what it takes to create content. But what about that moment when your finger is about to press publish? Thousands of thoughts hitting you like a brick, wondering what is going to happen? What are others going to say? Truth is, without pressing publish, no one sees your message. But how do we do it? Where do we do it? On what platform? How much time is it going to take me?
Well, our guest made her mission to remove all this friction for us entrepreneurs to spread our message and help millions. From her own experience, she tackled a massive problem and created the solution we are all looking for.
Oh, yeah, that's a hook right there. So you better keep listening.
She helps social media teams simplify and speed up the way they create and manage social media campaigns.
Oh, baby.
And her company became a Facebook partner in 2019. She spoke at the innovation stage at the very prestigious Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity, and she was recognized by Forbes in their 30 under 30 list. I got chills right now. Woo!
Oh, yeah, this is going to be amazing, guys. Please welcome co-founder of Planable, Forbes 30 under 30, and probably Moldova's coolest person, Miss Xenia Muntean.
Hey everyone. This is probably the best intro I've ever had. Definitely the most hyped and fun one, that's for sure.
Awesome, Xenia. We are so excited to have you here with us today. Wow. Thank you for letting us start our day like this.
Yeah. Thank you for introducing yourself to us. Like, I feel like you opened this whole new world, and we are extremely excited.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's definitely the best way to wrap my day. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah. And for those listening, guys, Xenia right now is in Romania, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Bucharest.
Yeah, Bucharest. Oh my God. Like, this is so exciting. Like, this is what we've been talking about lately, like the ability to connect with people from all around the world and share the message. You know, we had people from Australia, you from Eastern Europe, all over the United States, and we can't wait for you to bring the fire and teach us a little bit more about your story and what you're doing, because it's so exciting.
Very happy to do it.
Awesome. So for those listening, tell us a little bit about, you know, who are you, who's Xenia, and how this entrepreneurial fire kind of started, and where are you heading now?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as you mentioned, you know, I was born and raised in Republic of Moldova. That's a tiny country between Romania and Ukraine in Eastern Europe, a post-Soviet country. And, you know, I studied mass communication. I was always dreaming since I was a teenager. I was obsessed with the world of advertising. I was reading everything I could get my hands on. And I went to study, you know, mass communication and advertising. And I was always extremely fascinated about the industry. I was dreaming of working in in an agency, like a super creative agency at some point in my life. And I actually got to start an agency very early on in my second year of university. I started my own venture, the first business I ever had. I actually had a few small ventures before that, but this was the first like real business that I've ever started. It was a social media marketing agency. And that was like the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. But to be honest, you asked about the entrepreneurial spark and where did it come from. I never, it was not a dream of mine to be an entrepreneur. I was never dreaming about entrepreneurship and having my own business, being, raised in Eastern Europe, not the best economy for sure. You're not, you don't have those role models in your life. And I was, I never dreamed about it. It was a total accident. It just happened, but I'm super, super happy it did. I'm super happy that, it brought me where I am today.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm kind of curious. What were some of those, like first businesses the agency?
Oh yes. Yeah. So I had like a small venture when I was still in high school. I was designing and crafting handmade jewelry, and I was selling it on Facebook. So it was like kind of my first fashion e-commerce, you could say.
Yeah.
It was, I was doing that during high school, and it was, I was not the most profitable for sure, but it was really fun. Very different from what I'm doing today, the tech world and the advertising world. But I think, it taught me a few lessons about branding and marketing and selling your products online and customer support as well. So quite a good upstart for my entrepreneurial journey.
Definitely.
That's amazing. We often I think a lot of people are getting into entrepreneurship or, any kind of, selling anything, right? Kind of like oversee, like they don't really pay attention to those past experiences, but there's so many lessons there. Like I just started, it might not be the thing that I do now, but it taught me so many lessons like customer service and these things. And we also started a while back as a social media marketing agency, but even before that, right, we just went and bought like these soccer jerseys and went back to like our high school and sold them, a 50% profit or something like that. We're like, wow, it taught us, this very amazing principles that now we're using to like our business. So thank you for sharing those stories. And I hope this serves as, excitement or like motivation for those people that are actually starting, especially to publish and trying to sell things.
Yeah.
So it's a whole learning.
I want to add a little bit of something here. And some people think their first business has to be the one that is going to change their life, right? And it's like, hey, no, totally not. It's totally okay to fail multiple times as long as you keep moving forward.
I think it's even better if you start with something smaller because it's, there's less pressure. You get to experiment, you get to fail, you get to just make it messy. It doesn't need to be perfect. So just, it can be anything, and it's even better to be anything because, you don't need that pressure of like building a unicorn business from the first, business. And it definitely helps to just start with something smaller.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Xenia, I'm very curious because we obviously are located in the United States right now, but we are originally from Venezuela, right? And Venezuela, wonderful people, but I feel like the entrepreneurial like fire is massive here in the States. So I'm very curious to see like what was that environment of you, being so passionate about advertising, about these things, and maybe in your country, I don't know. Like, I'm very curious to see like what's it like in Moldova. You said it is a very small country, and now in Romania, like what's that environment like? What's the rest of the world doing? So I think like this is amazing opportunity to kind of share that window with everybody here.
Yeah, definitely. So the passion for advertising and marketing, I think that was just my own. I'm pretty sure that the entire Moldova is not super passionate and super into design and communication. I think that's just something I had in myself. I don't know why. It just came, it just came with myself. But it's interesting that you ask. Romania, for example, has quite a very strong ecosystem of startups and more specifically tech. It has great technical universities in Moldova as well. So it's really amazing in regards to like talent. In terms of like business, I feel like it's booming right now. There was actually an article that mentioned that named a part of Romania. It's called Cluj. It's in Transylvania, and they named it like the Silicon Valley of the Eastern Europe because of just like the booming talent of tech and the universities. And it's quite amazing. And I feel like this is the first step in developing the business industry in Romania. You start with very strong talent, and then the next step is developing the business side of it. And I can already see that there's a lot of investments coming into startups in here in Romania, and it's starting to bloom the ecosystem of startups here.
Yeah, this is so exciting to see, because we were actually having a conversation a few days back with somebody in Colombia, right? And I think it is Cali, the what they're naming like the capital, the capital of like technology in South America. So I kind of see that, with Romania, and this just opens so many possibilities for everybody out there, right? It's just like the field is wide open for us to provide solutions all around the world. So I'm very excited.
And we actually had our first unicorn in Romania recently. So first business that hit $1 billion in revenue. It's called UiPath, and I think there's been a lot of media about them, and they're probably the fastest growing enterprise business ever. They've been like tripling their valuation across a few months. So it's incredible, and having success stories like that in your country really motivates everyone to start their own business. They can see that it's real. You can build a business like that from your own country, and you don't need to go somewhere else. You can just create it right there.
Exactly.
It kind of reminds me of the 4-minute mile story, right? That is, I don't remember the name, but people thought running a 4-minute mile was impossible, and then this one guy did it. And after that one guy did it, it sparked the belief in other people, and a lot of other people started to achieving that goal, right? And I think that's what you're saying right now. Like, you have this one company that achieved the unicorn status, and now other people are gonna believe as well that maybe you don't have to be in the US to be able to do it, right? Or in other certain parts of the world. And like my brother was saying, I think that levels the playing field, and I love it.
Yes, I agree with you a lot, and especially right now during this entire COVID phase that we're going through, I think we can see that the playing field is getting leveled even more because we can connect like that, and you don't need to be in a specific location. You don't need to be in London or New York or San Francisco, because it doesn't really matter right now. No one is actually there for real. Everything happens, online. So
100%. So Xenia, from going to like this, like few businesses where you learn a ton, right? I'm guessing now you are going into college, and then you start your social media marketing agency, like for real, right? This is like business, like step number 1. Let's go now. What was that like? What was the beginning for you? And then what made you create Planable, which is, the direction that we're going at, like the amazing business that you have now? We're very interested in that part of the story. Like, how did that happen? How do you go from that agency model to now running this amazing startup in one of the hottest hubs of startup land ever?
Yes, definitely. So I started my first business, the social media marketing agency, during university, and it was not something planned. I was in a student association, and one of the sponsors of the association needed someone to just handle their social media marketing. And here I was, super passionate about social media marketing and advertising and everything. And I was like, hey, I'll do it. I'll do it. Okay, you need a company. You need to, we need invoices and all of that. I was like, okay, let me learn how to do that. So it just happened, and the first couple of months I didn't even register myself, mentally that I was an entrepreneur. I didn't label myself as an entrepreneur. I was like, I'm just doing these services, I'm doing what I love. And then the team started growing, and I realized that, just wait a second, I'm actually running a business. And then, during the agency life that I had, I learned so much about the processes and everything that happens behind the scenes of social media marketing, just like the overall operations, the nitty-gritty, how a post gets to actually being live on social media, what happens behind the post, the people that are involved, the back and forth. And I was very extremely frustrated with the tools. I felt like, us marketers were, building this extremely gorgeous content, visual, creative, moving, innovating content. And then when we're presenting it or when we're working on it, it's just like in a flat spreadsheet in a table, and it's stuck in there in those cells, and it's really hard to consume and imagine content in a way like that. So I was looking for tools for myself, for my own agency, to have a better way of collaborating on content, on posts for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, with my own team. And I realized that everything that was on the market back then, tools like Hootsuite and Buffer and Sprinkler and Sprout Social, and a bunch of other ones, they were helping me a lot. They were helping me a bunch with just publishing and scheduling, and they were taking a lot of the issues of publishing, but they were not really helping me with everything else in terms of the workflow, in terms of, hey, what do you think about this post? Is it ready to get published? So no, please change that emoji. It's not on brand or whatever. So that was very complicated and very messy, and we were wasting so much time just on this entire back and forth. And I met my co-founders at a hackathon, actually, in Moldova. We knew each other from before, but that's the first time when we started to work together. And they both worked in the industry, so they were both familiar with the advertising agency world. And one of my co-founders, our current CTO, he actually came up with the idea, well, I am seeing my colleagues struggling with the same issue that you're describing. Let's build something. And that's kind of how it all started, trying to scratch our own itch and trying to, solve our own problem. And yeah, it's been a bumpy ride since then, just a complete roller coaster, as any business is. But yeah, we went to that hackathon, and then we moved to Romania. All of us, we're originally 3 co-founders. So all of us, we moved to Romania, to Cluj, the Silicon Valley of Eastern Europe. And we moved there. We went through a pre-accelerator. We got our first very small angel investment, but that got us going for like the first year of developing the product and customer development. We were very young, so we didn't need. we were not very picky. And yeah, we built
noodles, so surviving on,
Exactly. That was all we needed. And yeah, we developed the product. We went through customer development quite a lot, and it was a really engaging experience. And it was we learned so much about startups back then. And the entire pre-accelerator actually finished with a demo day in a competition, and we won that competition. And the prize was to go to San Francisco for a week, but it turned to be a 3-month trip to San Francisco. Yes, because I was invited to Tim Draper's university. Tim Draper is like this huge, legendary VC in the Valley, and he has this academy for young entrepreneurs, a 7-week academy where you go and like learn everything you need, and you shape yourself into like a good founder, and that's what I did, and that was the beginning of Planable.
Wow! For those that are just listening right now, go to the Facebook stream, because you're gonna see your hypnotized face. We're like just absorbing this whole story. Is amazing. I love it, and I'm gonna say this. We come from the direct response marketing world, so obviously it's a little bit different than the investment side, right? Like getting the investors and startups. But at the same time, I love that word, that world. I absolutely love it. So this story has been fascinating, and I mean, I'm just surprised at how willing you are to go from one place to another, chase it. That it sounds like you are a very driven person, right? And the other part that I love of your story is that it all started from your own problems, right?
Yeah.
And we often hear that the the best market that we can help, right? The best type of people that we can help are those that find themselves where we were maybe a year or 2 years before, right? And that's exactly what you're doing. You had this issue, then met with your co-founders and were like, guys, why don't we solve this, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we solve this? And then you're helping those people that are exactly at the same spot probably that you were a few years back, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's the best way to go, because you are your ideal user, so you can empathize with them. You know their issues, you know their concerns. So you're just there in their mind, and that's the best way to build a business, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for sharing that story, because from our start, like the way that we do our business on our agency side, the product, the main thing that we actually execute, it came from an issue that we were having. We wanted to create all these points of contact with our audience, with our clients, as far as like pieces of content going out. And we're like, okay, how can we hack this omnipresence game? How can we be present for our audience everywhere as many times as possible, providing a lot of value? And this is why the show exists. This is why we do what we do. And then from that, we identified there was a lot of people that wanted, that solution as well. So we're like, perfect, and it's exactly what you did with Planable. We're like, okay, how do I actually collaborate with my teams? How do I actually receive feedback in a visual manner? How can I like make this thing like something really tangible? And you went after it and did it. So it is a wonderful story on starting to publish, starting to create that content. And then that originated obviously a problem that you came out with a solution with your team and are doing things very amazing. By the way, I was like, we're probably gonna be like diving into your platform very, very soon, because as soon as we started doing the research, we're like, we need this thing, and we're gonna tell the people where to find you. So we're like, yes, we need to make this happen. It's happening. So
well, we're super happy to hear that.
So through here, what are some? What is like one or two of the biggest challenges that you have? Because with our audience, we chat often about obviously starting to publish and the mentality and the mindset of starting to put yourself out there, and that brings you to face these inner monsters, right? I need to put out my own opinion. I need to express my own thoughts and kind of form your things, and those are challenges that a lot of people struggle with at a very basic level, which are totally legit. We were there. Right. But at your level, like, what are some of those challenges that you started? Not just with publishing, but with putting yourself out there with your business, right? You literally left your life to go to this new place. And what are these things? And then how were you able to overcome these problems?
Yeah, like personal challenges with business and with, there's a bunch of them. I think, the biggest challenge with putting yourself out there as an entrepreneur and talking so much about yourself is that your stories, which is your life, it's you, they get diluted. It's like you're starting to, ask yourself if this is, if that's actually yours. It doesn't become, it's not that much yours once you put it out there. It kind of belongs to the audience. And from an emotional perspective, you kind of start to lose a bit of those stories. They're not yours so much anymore. That sounds very depressive. Spoiling your fun show.
But we love where this is going, because sometimes we need to have these hard conversations, because sometimes in the entrepreneurial world, especially like if you want to advertise or you want to do content, especially if you're like a smaller business, you have to put those stories out there to be able to sync with people. And if you're not willing to do that, that's okay. But you need to identify. So I love where the conversation is going. So please go ahead and continue.
Okay, good. On your own risk. I think the issue with this is that the more you repeat a story, the more it gets diluted, and the more you can feel like it's your own thing, like it's your own personal thing. So you kind of lose touch with those things. They become the legends that you tell about yourself. And it starts to also, though it's like a real thing, a real experience, a real story that you actually went through, you start to feel less authentic when you tell it in time, because it got diluted, and then you're asking yourself, "Oh, I'm telling this story so many times. Was it like that? Did I add it up? Did I flourish it a bit? Did I, and the the idea of losing the authenticity of yourself is, I think, one of the biggest struggles, and trying to keep it. You want to make it sound cool, and you want to make it sound big, and you want to position yourself in the best light. But while you're building those stories, while you're building that legend about yourself, there is a big risk of losing yourself as well, like personally as a human being.
How have you been able to stay centered through all of this? Because it's been years now that you've been doing this. So what are some things that you do to kind of stay centered and be like grounded?
It's hard. It's extremely, extremely hard. I think the way I'm trying to do it is when I get questions that are very, they're positioned in a way where, people are trying to get like a very fancy and impressive answer from you. And I don't have a fancy or impressive answer. I try to just say it, how it is. Like, people ask me a lot about what books I'm reading. I don't read business books. Look, I don't read any business books. I don't follow any CEOs, and I'm not doing that. I know that's very controversial, and surprise, surprise, I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and I don't go jogging. So that's not me. I don't meditate. So all those things that you read about entrepreneurs, I'm not doing them. And I feel like I need to force myself to just give those answers that are true and authentic about myself, instead of telling people what they need to hear. It's hard, but you need to do it. You need to do it from like it's a slippery slope. Once you're going to give, a more twisted and embellished answer, and then it's very hard to stop doing that. So you need to be true to yourself.
I love everything you said, especially first talking about your story so many times, right? Like you said, it feels like it starts diluting, and then you feel like that lack of authenticity. And I feel honest, like I agree with that. It is difficult to say your story over and over again. But I think for those listening, right, like don't get discouraged, because every time you say it, you might be impacting somebody else different that they didn't know about your story, right? Like, yes, you are listening your story constantly because you're saying it, right? But we don't know who we can reach. So I love that. And it's so real what you're talking about. I love that you mentioned the fact that you're different, right? The fact that you don't read the business books, don't do just the meditations as other CEOs, their practices. And I love that, because actually the other day I have this little notebook right here that I'm taking notes in, and I just like sometimes write random stuff. And there's this phrase, like if you want to find success, success leaves clues, right? And you can model after success. And I love that, absolutely. I think we can definitely learn a lot of stuff from people that already achieve success and then act accordingly together. But at the same time, I was writing like, well, like if you're just modeling everything that other person do, like, then where are you, right? Like,
yes,
talking about that authenticity, like losing yourself in the road, you're just like learning how to think like other person, which and they achieve success, and there's something there that they did correctly, but at the same time, it's that feeling of yourself, right? Like, where am I then? Who am I at the end of the day?
Yeah. And that's not to be confused with improving yourself. Like that's super important for me. I always want to improve myself. I want to be more focused. I want to be more productive. I do a bunch of stuff, like I turn my notifications off during the day so I can focus on specific parts. I have days blocked in my calendars for a specific type of work. So I do get stuff from other people, but it's extremely important. I want to achieve success while staying myself. While keep being true to myself. And you have to prioritize, like, what are the things that you want to improve in yourself. If you find, like, if you always wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. and go jogging or meditate, and that's something that you want to do, then that could be considered improving yourself. But if you struggle with that and you want to do it just because that's what successful people do, then that's not okay.
I think this is an amazing point in the conversation because, like you said, so often we see these very successful people and they do what works for them. But sometimes, if we are in this path where maybe we're not quite there yet, maybe we don't have the support, we don't have the team, we don't have the people that surround these people that allows them to do that, then we try to imitate it, and then what we do is we just add friction to our day to day. That's going to prevent us to taking action in the things that actually matter. So
I'm gonna make the analogy here. Is just like a business that you can scale to a certain point and have certain systems in place, right? Like if you scale too fast, right? If you try to do all these things that they're doing, and we don't know the context within how they're doing it or where they're doing it, what they're doing it.
Yeah.
We might not have those systems in our life to support that, and that might be, that's probably when we feel that imposter syndrome a little bit. That's like, that conflict within us.
And to bring it to the context of content creation, right? So if you are in Planable, right, you're in the platform with Xenia, and you have all these posts put out, and you're like, okay, I want to be like these massive publishers like Payne June or Grant Cardone, or these guys are everywhere all the time, and they publish several times a day in several platforms, right? Even though you might have an amazing tool at your disposal, you bring it back to like what can you execute right now, right? What can your team execute? And I think that's a very important point. Even though you can learn, you like always bring it back to you and what your resources, either time or money, allows you to do that. So thank you. I was not expecting that we're gonna be actually talking about this. So
me neither. So I'm surprised.
Love it.
That's amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the platform, Planable? Like I am excited to know a little bit more about it, because after this, I'm 100%.
You're gonna test it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited for other people to know about this, because so many people need this.
Exactly. This is the thing that we never knew we needed, but now we need it and want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the perfect description. So, okay, let me tell you a bit about Planable. The idea behind it is that it's a collaboration product, a collaboration tool for social media teams. And it replaces the spreadsheets that people usually use to plan editorial calendars for the next week or for the next month. It also replaces like Drive or Dropbox or your own desktop or wherever you host and organize your files, your images, your videos, your GIFs, whatever you want to publish. It replaces that part, and it also replaces the email or the chat or the phone or the Slack or whatever you're using to communicate and gather feedback on those posts. And it just brings everyone who needs to be involved in the process of creating posts, discussing posts, reviewing posts, planning them and approving them. Copywriters, social media managers, designers, video producers. If you're an agency and you have clients, the clients as well. If you're an in-house social media team, the lawyer, if they need to approve your posts. If you're in the regulated space, you might need to. Whoever needs to be involved in the process, they're all there. They all see the same things. And my favorite thing about the product is that it shows you how the posts are going to look like in the end, like pixel perfect, like accurate previews of how your posts will look like in the end. And that's amazing for a few reasons, but I'll actually share a story from my own experience with the agency on how I was achieving that back then. Because many times clients were like, well, how is this going to look like? Try and explain a carousel post to clients sometimes. It's going to have like this images and it's really hard. So I was trying to explain that to them, to present them, to help them see the content. And I had a fake unpublished Facebook page. And I was going in there, I was like creating the posts, mocking them up, publishing them on that Facebook page that was unpublished and had no followers whatsoever, taking a screenshot, adding them in a PowerPoint presentation and sending that to clients. Before that, I actually had like a mock-ups in Photoshop, so I was like photoshopping them, but then I got smarter and I was like, oh, let's do an unpublished page on Facebook.
That's actually really smart. Yeah, that's actually really smart.
Yeah, and I've told this story so many times to social media managers, and they all, like, so many of them resonate. like I feel like 90%
Yeah.
of them have Facebook pages that are like for test purposes. Because there's two things. You want your clients to see your work, exactly how it's going to look like. But then the second thing is, for yourself, you want to have peace of mind that the post is going to look like you want it to look, that Facebook is going to take the metadata of a link, and the thumbnail of a link is going to display correctly, that you're not, LinkedIn, you're not going to have those gray stripes on the left and right, that it's going to look perfect, just like you have it in your own imagination. So you go in there, you mock it up, you're like, okay, good, looks good. And then you schedule it or you show it to the clients. And we're replacing that entire thing, because when you create posts inside Planable, they already look as though they're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. So it really helps with collaboration and the entire workflow that happens from when a person, a team, ideates, thinks together on a bunch of posts until the publishing itself.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love the simplifying of it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If I would have to do the publish on Facebook and screenshot and all that stuff, I'll be halfway through the process. I'll be like, no,
Done.
it's like I'm out of here.
Yeah, we have a couple of stories where we used to own a screen printing company, and the reason we stopped doing that was because we didn't love the process. So you found that you identified that issue and created a solution for it. Like, we never, on that screen printing company, never went there because we're not passionate about it. So
we created an issue by starting that company.
A very big issue. Yeah. So talk about commitment and the fact that you created that solution for a lot of people, and the way that you share that story. We're here like, yes, that is us. Like, on our company, we have been able, we need to create these systems to deliver these things, not just the final product, but like all these elements in between. And I found wonderful that you guys went above and beyond to do this. So for those listening, right, if you have that product, if you have like anything that you're working on, that service, please continue, go through it and find a to actually get, how can I serve better my audience? How can I serve better my clients? And that, which is exactly what you did. And that's exactly what content and publishing is all about. It's trying to find those issues and providing a solution on the back end. You mentioned in one of your episodes, in one of your guest podcasts, that technology is moving at a very fast pace, and especially in the social media world. And it doesn't allow for people to establish systems. Like,
Right.
I want you to dive in a little bit into that, because especially when let's say we're a content creation agency or content producing agency, and we go out to all these customers, they expect all these processes to be formalized, but they are not. So how do you fight that, or what are some things that you can do to minimize that impact, so any content creation, any content producer can actually deliver with the least amount of friction?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, think about this like that. Advertising is 100 years old, but the internet is like, 20, 30, 50 max years old. The entire social media world is 20 years old. So it's extremely, extremely new. We're very new to this. So we didn't get the chance, we didn't get the time to actually build those processes. So we took some of those processes from like traditional marketing, traditional advertising, the emails and just figuring out the conversations, presenting work and meetings. Those are very traditional ways of operating, of marketing operations. But social media, operates in a totally different space. You need to be extremely agile. You need to be very nimble. It needs to be real time if you want to make it work. So you need like a super, super smooth process. And I think that's, the reason why this entire space, this entire category where we are right now, collaboration for content, is new, because content in itself, the entire content marketing industry, is pretty new as well. So the first problem that people needed to solve when content appeared was the publishing of content. How do I get to publish content easily? And then coordination. How do I figure out what content I need to publish? How does that content need to look like? That was the second question that they had to ask. The first one was just like trying to manage the extreme amount of content that the industry was facing, the extreme demand of content consumers had. And then the second question was like, how do we make it better? How do we ensure that it's brand consistent? How do we ensure that it's diverse, that everyone from the company has a point of view and gets the chance to say their feedback? And that's, why our category is quite very new. That just explains, why tools like Planable just, started to exist recently.
Yeah, that's amazing. What do you think this industry is going? Like, where's the future of like social media marketing? Where's the future of marketing in general? Where's it going?
Yeah, it's going to be very similar with what we discussed so far. It's all about authenticity. And I feel like we got a glimpse of the future of content during this entire coronavirus phase, because, we've seen so many brands just building content however they could, with limited resources, super scrappy, content that feels like it was built by humans and not like massive production studios, but content that feels like it was built by, a user with an iPhone. Very scrappy, very agile, and I love that. It just gives you a very genuine feel, and it resonates a lot with so many brands, and I think it resonates with us. It's just very human, and I think that's the future of content as well. I mean, obviously, we're going to have very well produced, and sometimes you need very well produced pieces of content. But otherwise, just making it as authentic as possible, I think that's definitely 100% the future of content.
I love this right here. I mean, I've said that I love everything, and it's because the conversation has been amazing.
He loves everything, literally.
But like, I mean, you're talking about authenticity, and the other day I was actually editing one of our clients' videos, right? And I'm like, I heard him say that the more kind of like technological advancement there is, the more people are looking for that human connection, right? Like,
yes,
now we're craving that human connection. And we on our side, to our clients, we always say, it's like, hey, look, quality of the message is way more important than quality of the production at first, right? Like, focus on the message, right? Make it authentic, like you're saying. So that's the reason why I love this, because I mean, it just connects exactly with what we preach as well. And I want to pretty much take advantage of this moment right here for the listeners, guys. Just go and produce the content. It doesn't have to be the best production out there. Just it has to be authentic. It has to be you. And there's people that's going to connect with it. Of course, there's going to be people that you're not going to connect with, and that's totally okay as well, right? And as long as you're being authentic, you're going to connect with the right audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can iterate on that content later on. You can improve it, but it's so much more important to ship things faster, and then you can make them perfect later on. Next pieces of content, you can make them a little bit better, step by step, and you're going to reach that perfection you want, but ship first.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think we're gonna take this as an action point for the show today. It's like, be authentic, elaborate. And there's so many points that you share with us, Xenia. Like, it's so amazing, and thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We want to ask. There's a couple more questions here as we wrap up the show. We obviously want to motivate people to be present, to share their message with the world, and your platform allows them and their teams to do that. But we also want to ask you, where will you be if you did not start publishing, either for you or for your clients? Like, where will you be now?
Oh, that's a tough question. I ask this question myself in our own podcast. I ask people, that I interview, what would they do if they wouldn't do what they're doing today? What else would they do? I'm not prepared to answer, but I think I would still be in the advertising world, probably on the creative side of things. I have a background in graphic design, and That's probably what I would be doing, at the moment. Either having my own design studio, or just freelancing. That's something that I would possibly do. So still not very far away from what I'm doing today.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you for sharing with that. And I think most people answer the way that you do. Nobody's really prepared for that. Even us, we actually have no idea what we will be like.
Yeah, we ask the question to other people, but we don't ask it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Same as me. Same as me.
And now the last question before we head out is, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? Where can people connect with your company?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. So just like drop me an email, drop me a connection request. I'm super happy and excited to connect with you all guys. So hit me there and let's chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Guys, do it.
Do it.
Because she is absolutely amazing.
She is.
Thank you.
And I think that's it, Xenia. We have like 2 more minutes after we wrap up the show. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. Content is Profit Podcast, and follow us on social media.
That's right.
Go.
Oh, that's right, guys. And if you found this episode impactful, which I am sure you did, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review.